Alright, here we are, guys. The review of Us, the new horror movie directed by Jordan Peele, following up his smash hit success, Get Out. What are we thinking about Us? What are we thinking, Richie? What were your first impressions of Us?
Well, as a man of culture, I was not expecting Us to be as good as Get Out, which I don't think it was, personally. I think Get Out's still a better movie.
Whoa, okay.
Still a pretty scary. It's more of a horror film than Get Out. So.
But I also felt it was more of a comedy than Get Out, surprisingly. It was a funny movie.
Yeah, had more singers than Get Out.
Alright, so, we're going to start off the review with some non-spoilers, and then at a certain time, we will put a little warning on the screen when we will start the spoilers. So, pre-spoilers, I thought it was a very good movie. I thought it wasn't too scary. Like, if you're thinking, like, I don't know if I want to see this, it might be too scary. It wasn't too scary. It's more of a makes you, like, think type of scary. Like, wow, what if there's, like, a thing that could, like, I don't know, happen or something?
I think it's more of a thriller than a horror movie.
A thriller, I'd agree. What are you thinking, Shiv?
Yes. I was literally on the same page. I was like, this is like suspenseful. Whoa, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, definitely for the non-spoiler section, I'll say if you want to see this movie, see it, because it was definitely well shot, well edited, great music. Everything about it was good. The acting was really good. Lupita Nyong'o might get...
Lupita nominated. If not, we're
boycotting.
We're
boycotting. Hashtag Oscars.
We're going outside of the Dolby Theater with our pitchforks and our signs.
Hashtag Oscars hate horror movies, because they really do. They should have nominated Hereditary last year, but maybe this year we'll get some nominations for Us. Alright, Richie, any more final thoughts before we move on to the spoiler section?
Oh, we're jumping in the spoiler thing, dog. Yeah, I thought it was shot really well.
Especially the opening. The opening was, like, beautiful. With, like, the storm clouds. Great stuff.
I think it was overall shot very well.
No, the scene where
whoa, this might be moving into spoiler territory.
No,
okay.
I would say when we first are introduced to the other family.
Mm-hmm. That's in the trailer, so it's not too spoilery.
Yeah, and then, like, we see how the other family is, like, reacting to that. I thought that one scene was, like, really well shot.
Very, very good. A good mix of comedy. Good mix of comedy.
Yeah, and then you see how the dad, like, interacts with
M'Baku. Ibambe.
Killed it.
I think Jordan Peele is becoming the master of callbacks. I'll talk about that more, like, in the spoiler thing. But, like, if something pops up in the beginning, it's gonna come back later.
That's true. I love, like, noticing that, like, a specific thing that we will talk about. At least I don't know if that's what you're gonna mention, but maybe I'm gonna mention. So, maybe moving on to the spoiler section, guys. So, if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, click off now. Go see the movie in the theaters, maybe a matinee so it's not too expensive, and then come back and you can finish your review. We'll give you some that, or you can watch some other person's review. It's probably better than ours. That's okay. So starting off, it starts off with an old, like, 70s, what is it, the 80s or 70s? The 80s, an old 80s TV showing us a commercial for Hands Across America.
Ooh,
and you know right away...
This is some trivia tidbit.
Okay.
Jordan Peele actually saw this commercial on YouTube, you know, our nightly scrolls on YouTube, and he was like, damn, this is low-key, like, you know, haunting. And he was like, I can play with this, you know what I'm saying? The duality, you know?
That he did, and that's how it starts with Hands Across America. We don't really know what it's going to mean to the plot. We know it's going to mean something, and then after that we get a commercial for the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, which I hate to say it to people in Santa Cruz right now, but that just made the whole city a lot scarier. Like, I don't know if I want to go there after seeing this movie.
The banana slug.
The Santa Cruz tourism might have taken a drastic downturn after this movie, because that boardwalk is spoopy now. So we move...
Is something actually there, or is that not there?
That's a good question. I don't know if, like, okay, so once we finish with these commercials, it moves on to our main character as a young girl going to the boardwalk with her family, where she enters a hall of mirrors. And this Hall of Mirrors is a kind of a portal to another world, one might say.
Oh, you know what the movie really, really starts with is the like, under the world there are
that's
abandoned
right.
tunnels.
On the screen, we get like a black screen and some like exposition lines talking about how I guess this is a real fact that Jordan Peele pulled off Wikipedia or something, where there's miles and miles of underground tunnels all over the United States. And apparently no one knows what they're used for. There's like all abandoned mine shafts and subway stations. So that is important, and it's kind of what the Hall of Mirrors is linked to. It's linked to this underground system somehow. And then once our main character goes into the Hall of Mirrors, she finds her doppelganger. And at first we think, oh, this is like a reflection of herself in the mirror. But no, because she's facing the person, and then the person is facing away, so we know it's not a mirror reflection. This is an actual like replica of our main character. And then once she sees this, we cut away and we're back into our present day storyline, which is set in I guess 2018 or 2019. And that's when we get to meet our main characters, all of which I think are very likable. I think Peele did a great job of making like the main family members all likable people, especially the dad. The two kids are funny, making little cracks at each other like siblings do. Classic sibling maneuvers. Richie knows. Richie's got some siblings. They always make fun of that hat he's wearing right there. No one likes that hat in his family.
It's a dapper hat.
So starting off, we get some like because there's a big twist in this movie, and after you've seen it, you can start to pick up clues. Should we reveal what the big twist at the end is, or should we wait till we get to the end?
I think that's a big discussion point. Is the twist.
What?
Because you look through the whole movie with a different lens after the ending when you know what the twist is.
That's true.
We talk about it right now. I'm getting too worried.
Alright, so at the end of the movie, we find out that Lupita Nyong'o's character is actually one of these evil tethered people. These tethered people are like, they're described as a shadow to every person has a shadow, and these shadows live in the underground tunnels. And somehow during the 1980 scene where Lupita Nyong'o goes into this Hall of Mirrors, she gets switched with her doppelganger. So her tethered is actually the character we've been following the whole time, and the real Lupita Nyong'o character has been living underground with the other shadow people for the whole movie. So we get to see Lupita Nyong'o do some questionable things and act in little strange ways throughout the movie. We were kind of like trying to like pick out the clues. I've seen a lot of people say online that the twist actually wasn't supposed to be too secret, and that Jordan wanted people to figure it out. And this is a crazy thing I saw online. The reason Peele wanted us to know the twists and not make it too secret is because the actual twist is that these two groups of people are actually exactly the same. Like, we did not really realize that Lupita Nyong'o was a shadow. Like, we had our ideas. We were like, she's pretty normal. She's interacting with the other humans. So that's to tell us that these two groups, they're not that different. We can sympathize with the shadow people underground, even though they're like murdering people. So are the normal people. They're killing people too. So it's honestly to show that these two groups really aren't that different. The duality of two sides of scissors. Two sides that come together to divide. Saw that online too. I didn't come up with that. I'm not that.
Wow.
So
that was heavy.
I know. So that some of the things we see that happens, Lupita Nyong'o, like she doesn't want to go back to the beach. Like we're thinking, why didn't she want to go back to the beach? It's because the character knows that the way back to the underground is there, and she does not want to go back at all costs. All right, so I think it's a good time to bring up that
it's Sandy.
Yes, like Anakin Skywalker, she hates the sand because it's rough, coarse, irritating, and gets everywhere. But so with Peele's first movie, there was obviously the racial undertones throughout the movie, pretty obvious. But with us, he said he didn't want the racial undertone thing. Instead, he wanted to do a different type of social commentary. And with this one, at least with some people online are saying, and I agree with it, their examples and like analysis make sense. It's that this movie is supposed to represent the economic classes of the United States, with the underground shadow people all being representative of the lower class, the main family we follow being representative of the middle class, and then their friends who we meet early on at the beach when they go to Santa Cruz representing the upper class, and how all these classes struggle to stay within their own parameters, and how the other classes are fighting to be in the other classes. Like, the poor class representative, or the underground people representative of the poor class, all group together during the movie and like start like a revolution of sorts to fight up and be a part of like the middle class. But Lupita Nyong'o's character, who we know after the twist was one of the underground people and is now, I guess, integrated herself into the middle class family group, is fighting back against the poor people, which is showing you can relate to these people because you were once a part of that group, but once you move on to an upper economical class, you will fight to keep there, and you will not like, because Lupita Nyong'o literally killed her old self at the end. Spoiler, this is the spoiler section. Even though she knew that this was the real person, this is her other self, and she still killed her because she did not want to go back to the lower economic class, which is, I don't know, it speaks volumes to how the real world works and how people will fight to be in another class, but once they get to it, they'll completely forget about all the people they left behind when moving there. I know.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele is crazy with these deep underlying themes. And I think in his journey to make this this type of, I guess, comparison, this like metaphor, this deep like long symbolism, he kind of played loosely with the plot and how like these things actually work, because we see throughout the movie that the shadow people, they're called the tethered. They're tethered to the people above ground somehow, and we see in some cases where if the people, the normal humans up top, like move around, the other tethered people will also move around, but then sometimes they don't. He doesn't really explain why sometimes they're controlled and sometimes they aren't, but I think he just wanted to get across his metaphor. He didn't really care too badly about making sure everything made sense, because there's a little bit of an exposition dump towards the end where Lupita Nyong'o is confronting her tethered self, or I guess her real self that became the tethered one, and she kind of gives an exposition dump about how the government created these people underground to like their goal was to replace people above ground with the tethered shadow people in order to like brainwash, control them. But in their eyes, the tethered people had no souls, so they were too different from the people above ground, so they just abandoned the idea altogether and just left all these people. There's like millions of people underground. I don't know. It didn't really explain.
They're so connected to the people.
They were.
They said that the bodies, they didn't get the bodies, but not the soul. The soul stayed.
Yeah, the soul.
Yeah.
The reason the government abandoned it was because the soul apparently wasn't in these underground dweller people, which is, I guess, kind of explains why they're so evil and murdering people. But at the same time, I think Peele wants us to see that they are actually similar, because one of the soulless people is able to completely camouflage herself like a chameleon in our society. And so I don't think they're really supposed to be the villains. They're supposed to be more of like a sympathetic, tragic character group. And so during the exposition dump, what? What?
I would say that the real, like, the villains of the movies might be like the government agents that made
That's true.
Why does
That's
Rishi
true.
sound like he's 10 feet underwater, though? Am I the only one? Okay.
Just take a sip real quick. Clear your throat.
Am I actually underwater?
Now you sound better. Actually, if you're taking the sip for some reason, you sound a lot better.
Well, thank you.
You sounding that way. Let's take a quick break from our discussion to hear Shiv's impression of Lupita Nyong'o's tethered character.
You lived with the Brits. I had Abraham, and this is wrote an inch.
Wow, that's actually pretty good.
Dude, I'm like, yeah.
I definitely know what's going to be the #1 Halloween costume this year. It's going to be people all dressed in red jumpsuits.
With the
I thought
Michael
it was-
Jackson.
was cool.
We should talk about the MJ
Okay.
symbolism.
So
Oh, I
So-
thought it might be Jackson.
So the group of tethered people underground all dressed exactly the same, like a red jumpsuit with one brown fingerless leather glove. And then the ideas behind why they're dressed like that is because when young Lupita Nyong'o goes underground, she's wearing a Michael Jackson Thriller t-shirt. So the Thriller music video, Michael Jackson obviously famous for wearing one glove, and he wears like a full red tracksuit, like latex thing. So I guess that's why they're dressed in a certain fashion, is because.
I thought it was red for the Hands Across
Oh yeah,
America.
and the Hands Across America logo has a bunch of people holding hands, like stick figure people, but they're like bright red. So I guess it was a mixture of both. I think Peel is going for like.
I would say the club was going back to
It was like all the memories of Lupita Nyong'o, because Lupita Nyong'o's the actual person that goes underground when she switched in the very beginning. We don't find out she switched at the end, but once she goes underground, she kind of becomes the leader of these people. And so, like, all the ideas that they have about how this revolution will work and what they will do are coming from basically a human that's only had like education and knowledge up to like a, I guess, 9-year-old level or however old she was. So that's kind of explains why their whole plan was just to hold hands across America. Because I mean, in the eyes of a 9-year-old, I guess that kind of seemed like it would be a good like symbol or like demonstration, like say we're here. Mm. And I also saw someone say that's the reason, another reason why they chose scissors as weapons. Because as a 9-year-old, you'd think, wow, scissors are kind of a cool weapon. Like, as a 9-year-old, you're kind of like scared of safety scissors. Like, wow, that could hurt me or something. So.
Well, all the weapons that they use in the movie are like randomly selected. You know, they all have their own weapon.
Like the girl, the
putter.
daughter uses a putter.
And then the son has the
gemstone or geode thing.
I think that's an interesting horror movie trope that they use. The people just picking up random things.
And they're able to brutally beat people. Like, this movie's brutal. Like, if you were going into this thinking it might not be that much blood or violence, it's pretty brutal. I'll give it that.
Yeah, the white family guy.
Yeah, so the upper class family that I was talking about earlier, the family friends who they meet at the beach, they get brutally murdered at a scene throughout the middle of the movie, like kind of unexpectedly too. It's the first like real violence we see. That's like, actually, before that we see the dad kill his tethered counterpart with a boat engine. That was pretty brutal. So I think going back to like the plot in chronological order, so we see the family going to the beach. We get some cool interactions of them.
Oh, like, and then the scene where like they throw the frisbee and then it lands like perfectly on the surface.
That is true. Okay, so starting off.
Oh my god, that's like another thing. Like, you always try to like look the same as something, but you'll never fully be it. You know.
So you're saying the frisbee was trying to fit the circle, but it couldn't really be it because it's a frisbee.
It's a frisbee.
Can't be a circle.
Can't be
a circle on a towel.
You little silly goose.
So what she was talking about there is when they're at the beach, someone throws a frisbee and it lands perfectly on a towel and it covers a little circle.
Oh yeah,
perfectly.
and then we see how that, you know, the Jeremiah guy, the 11:11,
mm-hmm.
the Jesus stuff, and like he's the first one to be killed. And we see that he's the start of the chain of the Hands Across America.
That's true. When the family's at the beach at the very beginning of the movie, this whole movie takes place over like I think 1 day and like a half, like a day and a half. It's not much time span in the movie. And so at the beginning, when they're first at the Santa Cruz beach, we see a person standing like rah on the beach, and we're like, what the heck is this dude standing there for? But we find out later. It's to like link their arms together and form a chain as they're recreating the Hands Across America. So that was kind of like obvious little symbolism, but
Jeremiah 11:11, that quote is like it talks about how like I guess like the demons or something from like the underworld are actually like arise and take over the world. So it's actually
is that actually what it?
It's actually very.
That's pretty interesting. Richie's a Bible nerd, so he knows all the Bible.
Oh, I love that.
Specifically Ezekiel, the path of the righteous man. Okay, so the whole like I guess first 30 minutes is just getting us to like these characters, this family, as we see like their shenanigans as they go through their beach house and their vacation and whatnot. And then once okay, so I want to talk a little bit about things that is said. Okay, so they go to the beach, the boardwalk, to meet this other family, and then some other interactions are interesting. Elizabeth Moss plays the mom of the other rich upper class family, and she says at one point to Lupita Nyong'o's character, talking about like I guess like a magazine or something, and Lupita Nyong'o's character's like, I've never been really good at talking. It's kind of like, why would she say I've never been really good at talking? Like whenever her close friends, at least that's what's implied. Like these are close friends, and it's because she really isn't good at talking because she was the tethered person. Because in this underground society, they don't really have a language. They don't really speak. It's more so they use like grunts and like hand motions to like communicate. So that's why Lupita Nyong'o's character says she's not good at talking because she literally isn't good at talking. Not like I don't know anxiety or whatever. It's just like she doesn't know how to talk. And that also because we get a more flashbacks intercut throughout the movie with Lupita Nyong'o's younger character and her family after they leave the boardwalk and the switch has happened, but we don't know like the switch happened until the very end. But we do see some flashbacks of the new Lupita with her family, and they're like talking to a counselor, being like, "I just want my daughter back. I want her to speak." And it's like, well, why would that encounter in the Hall of Mirrors make her not want to speak? Unless we know that she became the character, or she got switched to the person who literally can't speak. That's why she isn't talking. She doesn't know how. And we also, because when the underground tethered people come up, after they leave the boardwalk and go home that night, that's when we first meet the tethered family. Lupita Nyong'o's tethered self is the only one that speaks of all the tethered, and we're like, I guess maybe just because we don't know these tethered people yet, we're like, well, maybe they can learn to speak. But we find out that the reason that she's the only one that could speak is because she was the human that was learned to speak her whole life, and then eventually her voice became like really rough and hoarse, as Shiv impersonated earlier very well, because in the underground society they just don't speak. It's just not something they do. So she kind of.
Well, I thought it was raspy and broken like that because when she switches and she grabs and like crushes her neck, I don't know if that would have like a longevity effect on her speaking.
Oh, you think?
I thought that when she grabbed her neck, that's kind of caused her to have that.
I mean, that could definitely be. And I saw another person say that it's like a symbol of the tether, like they're called the tethered, and like they're tethered around the neck and kind of like strangling their voice so they can't speak. That seems kind of like a stretch, but I mean I can see Peel going like, yeah, I meant that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
I think there was like a Get Out video where he was like talking about like all these theories online. He's like, oh yeah, I for sure meant the Fruit Loop milk thing meant colored and whites are mixed. That's what I was. Well, that is true. There's an Easter egg to Get Out where we see the younger boy eating Fruit Loops without milk.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard, you were talking about early on how Peel was becoming a master of showing something in the beginning and then having greater meaning towards the end. What things were you talking about here?
Do tell
There's a
Richie.
lot. I guess the most obvious. I mean, thinking back on, I would say that like the usage of the boat will kind of be called back.
That's true. In the beginning, we showed the dad show off his boat.
Oh my god, isn't the dad's friend the white guy?
Mm-hmm.
His boat was named Biatch.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I thought they're getting some secret.
I think we should talk about that.
Well, I do want to bring this up. That the people underground, the tethered, they kind of learned how to like act from their upper world selves, like the real humans, and it's kind of shown with the dad of the white rich family. His tethered kind of acts all like whoa loopy doopy because his tethered or his as real world self is like a drunk alcoholic dude. So this guy's been learning how to be a human from a drunk alcoholic. So he's kind of like, this is how a human or a person interacts. He's like all goofy and like kind of like jumping around and acting goofy. That's because he's learned his whole life how to be a person from this guy that's drunk all the time. And that's also why Elizabeth Moss's character, the mom in the upper class family, her tethered after killing the real person, slices her face with the scissors to kind of thing like, why is she doing this? It's because earlier the character was telling Lupita Nyong'o at the beach how she got a little bit of plastic surgery, and that was the tethered character trying to recreate the plastic surgery by cutting her face.
Oh god.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the hell? I thought it was gonna be something else about.
And another little bit of a callback that Jordan Peele gave us when he mentioned something in the beginning and it kind of has meaning later is when at the beach the two the two dads were talking about the brand new boat he just bought, and then the white upper class dad's like, "I'm sure you got a flare gun, right?" And the dad's like, "Ah, damn it, I forgot the flare gun." And then when he goes onto the rich guy's boat fighting the tethered version of the rich guy, he uses the flare gun to get the upper hand in the fight. So that was a good callback.
I will say probably the last one. I mean, the one that stuck out to me was somewhere in the when the family's first scene with the boat, the daughter has like a rabbit T-shirt, and that calls back to the rabbit. I actually thought it didn't really play as big of a part as I thought it would have.
That's true. That's true.
I got, like the rabbit, you can see like the outline in like the poster and stuff at the beginning. I would have played. I thought the rabbits would have played a bigger
part.
I think in the end, the whole point of the rabbits was that the government wanted to have like a sustainable food source for like this huge group of people underground, and then rabbits, they breed like crazy, so there's like lots of them. So it really is a good food source for trying to control a huge population of people.
Yeah,
Cause,
in that sense, it's survival. I just thought that they would.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna like be somehow the rabbits were involved with how they were making the other people. They literally never explain how these other people are made in the course of the movie. And I don't think Peele really wanted to. That's not what he was trying to say. He wasn't trying to make like some weird conspiracy movie. It was more of like the symbolic nature of these people being the representative of the different class systems of America.
Yeah, I don't think you should take his movies just face value. Tell him that's really where he intended. Like even with Get Out, I think it is definitely how real racism, not just with family.
Mm-hmm.
Black bodies.
Do you think we should talk about the use of music in this film? Really great use of music. Obviously, in the trailer, you know, they use Luna's. I guess he's a one-hit wonder. I don't really know if he has any other popular songs, but I got 5 on it. Get the rhythm.
Yeah, I like that. At the very end too, when the two
they're dancing.
Yeah, at the very end, there's a pretty epic fight scene between the two Lupitas, the tethered and the untethered version. Yeah, and it uses the like I guess the remixed version of I Got 5 on it that makes it sound more spoopy, the one that we started the video off with. It's used during the final fight scene. And my boy Kevin, shout out Kevin, he pointed out an interesting symbolism. I didn't get this one from online. This is straight from my boy Kevin's mouth. Shout out the sunglasses. The last scene. Okay, so Lupita Nyong'o's character, her parents earlier during the flashback to get her to talk, get her into dance, so she becomes a dancer. And so at the end, we get to see her like big dance recital, like the flashback intercut with her actual fight with the tethered and untethered Lupitas fighting. It's cut in between the dance and the fight. And Kevin pointed out that this is like the last dance, the last fight, a frequent it's like a turn of phrase for the final battle of a movie. They call it the last dance. So it literally was the last dance of the movie. So good eyes, Kevin.
At what point did you guys see the twist coming? I know you had told me you would see the twist
Okay, yeah. So so after the family first meets the tethered family, they fight him off, and then they go to the rich family's house to try and get safety. But when they get because at the beginning, we kind of think that the only tethered is that family, because that's the family we've been following, and she saw herself in the mirror dimension. We only learned that everyone else has a tethered person when the rich family's murdered. So the other family doesn't realize that everybody has, well, I guess Lupita would know that everyone has a tethered because she was. But the rest of them don't know that everyone else has one, so they go there and then they're surprised to find out they've been murdered and that the other people have tethered. And like, they turn on the news and they see that a bunch of people have been attacked. Like these tethered are fighting or killing people all over the city and on the news and stuff. So when they get to the house, they fight the rich family's tethered, and we see Lupita really go in on one of like the daughters of that family. He's like, bam, 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 like brutally murdering her and kind of laughing. And the son sees this and is like, I don't know about this. And that was at that moment, kind of like halfway through the film, where I leaned over to Kevin. I'm like, I'll predict the twist. It's gonna be that they were switched in the beginning. But like I said, I think Peele kind of wanted to make it obvious about the twist, but I did predict it. I'll say that. I don't want to say I'm super genius, but
I wanted to bounce off of talking about killing one of the twins, because when she's forced to kill the tethered of her own children, she doesn't. Like even with the girl, for example, like she was in perfect.
That's true.
Yeah.
And she let her die, and then with the son, she had a perfect chance, and he was just holding that.
She definitely, Peele's trying to show that there's definitely some sympathy between her, like, acknowledging the poor class, or the tethered people that are, I guess, representing the poor class, but since she's no longer one of them, she wasn't really going to allow herself to save them at risk of losing her new family, her new social class. So while she did feel sympathy for the people she used to be, she at the same time wasn't going to risk it all to lose what she had been able to gain.
Yeah, even though she's no longer considered a tether, I think she that's there as her people. And I think that she kind of did that with her kids, and maybe not the twins, because the twins were stabbed, but.
Yeah, I mean, it also shows that all the other tethered people, besides Lupita Nyong'o's tethered, who's not an actual tethered, is like, because she was an actual human, all the other tethered kill their doppelgangers, like, very quickly. Like, they just get instant stab killed. Lupita Nyong'o's character is the only one that kind of, like, drew it out and was like, I'm going to talk to you guys and, like, whatever, like, introduce ourselves. Because she was an actual human and she wasn't, I guess, soulless like the other tethered were. I don't know if they were actually soulless, because we can see the tethered Lupita Nyong'o, who I guess was soulless, kind of became a normal human. So maybe they just had to learn to have a soul. Maybe like there isn't like an actual soul. It's just the environment you raised in and the people that love and carry you. Maybe
Wait,
people are trying to say that.
this is where I'm confused though, because if the tethered mimic the like actual people's movements, how was the tethered? I think it's Red. Lupita's tethered. How was she able to make her own movements?
Okay, so...
And then how was the human then being the actual one getting, like, forced to make the movements?
The tethered aren't connected, but when they switch, they're, at least for Lupita's character, they're not.
So you think when they switched, the normal human character kind of got the powers of the tethered where, like, they control them? Or is it the people...
on the surface gives them the ability to control the other.
Oh, you think so the people on the surface movements is what control the people on the bottom?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's not really explained. The reason Shiv brought this up is because during the dance scene, we see the tethered Lupita with at the dance recital on the stage. We also see the untethered Lupita doing like the same dance for the tethered in the underground tunnels, and it kind of doesn't make sense how their dance is exactly the same if they aren't actually the tethered and untethered. They were switched. So how does like the powers like change or switch? I don't think Peele really cared about why. He just wanted it to look cool, which it did. Because whenever we see
style over substance, boy.
Because there's I think 2 moments where we see exactly how the tethered and untethered mimic each other. But the thing is, it isn't exact. Like because in the opening scene at the flashback at the boardwalk, we go through it the first time, and then towards the end, we see it intercut with what's happening in the underground tunnels, and we see that the tethered are kind of like mimicking what's going on at the boardwalk, like the people riding a roller coaster are like underground, like pretending to ride a roller coaster, and like people on like the tilt-a-whirl, like pretending to like spin in a circle. So it's not an exact recreation. So my idea is that they just kind of are trying to, like, they can see what they're doing and they're trying to like mimic it. So I think like it's kind of like a vision thing, like where they can see what's happening and they're trying to learn. I don't think it's like an exact control. That's why I think the son, because when the son of the main family kills his tethered version, he does it by doing a movements, and then the tethered version copies him. And I think it's just because like he was still a young kid. He was trying to learn how to be a human. He was like the youngest of all the tethered. So I think he was still learning, and that's why the boy was able to abuse the fact that he was mimicking his movements to get him to walk back into a fiery explosion. So I think it's more the tethered have like the ability to do it and the ability to voluntarily not do it. It's just that when they do it, they're trying to learn to be human because that's their only source of like I guess their only source of education. They showed classrooms down below in the tethered room, but I don't know if the government was actually teaching these people or what they were doing. It wasn't really explained.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get the indication that they didn't. They made them that without any education whatsoever, just a bunch of rabbits. And then that was it. I think that the government realized after like the first 2 or 3 of these guys aren't going to work as humans. They're going to work as
Yeah, the only like thing that the government would get is like just like the one quick mention by Lupita Nyong'o when she's like giving the exposition is like she does say like the government. I think she like literally says the government created them or whatever and then abandoned it. We don't really get who these government officials are, for like some secret Illuminati thing, or for like the actual like president and whatnot doing it, or like the CIA. I just watched JFK the other night. Damn, the movie's good, but we're not gonna talk about JFK right now. We're talking about us. So going back to so after they kill the family, we get to during the so when the main family goes to visit the rich family after they kill the tethered rich family, this is one of the best uses of music because they have like this Alexa type device called Ophelia, and then they have her the dad's like, hey, Ophelia.
Oh my god, dead ass. When she was like when Elizabeth Moss was like on the thing and she's like Ophelia, I thought she wanted to hear Ophelia by Veneers. I'm like, what? Like that's so strange.
Hey Ophelia, play Ophelia.
Yeah, I was like, what's happening? But
instead we get the Beach Boys' Good Vibration playing over a very brutal, violent scene where the tethered family kills the rich upper class family. So I kind of ruined the Beach Boys for a whole generation. Thanks, Jordan Peele. And then, as Elizabeth Moss's character is dying, she tries to get Ophelia to call the police, and she's like, Ophelia, call the police. But then Ophelia thinks she says, play Fuck the Police by NWA. So then we get an NWA scene as the family we've been following the whole time shows up and kills the tethered family. So it's a real great use of music. Okay, I'm gonna point this out. After Fuck the Police ends, I Got 5 on It plays again, and we get the impression that it is coming from the Amazon Alexa thing. So I don't think the family was like, hey Ophelia, play I Got 5 on it.
It's a dope song, let's go!
In my headcanon, I'm just gonna say like there was like some playlist that Ophelia found the NWA song on, and just randomly, coincidentally afterwards, it was gonna be I Got 5 on It. That's another thing that we kind of skipped over in the beginning, is that it kind of focuses on how all these coincidences are happening to like symbolize that the tethered family is coming close. Other than the beginning, they don't really mention these coincidences much again, but in the beginning we see like exactly at the time 11:11 on the clock, the lights go out, and then like the baseball game on the TV was 11 to 11, and which is all like the Bible verse that it was 11:11. It's not really explained why these tethered had the power to make these coincidences happen. I think this was supposed to be a cool part of the horror movie. I didn't think about that. Peele kind of abandoned that whole coincidence thing towards the middle and end. Like he kind of just like.
Maybe they were, because I guess the coincidences were supposed to be like a sign of them coming. So if they
they're already there.
And we get a line from the daughter at one point talking about a government conspiracy. How they're putting fluoride in water to turn the frogs gay. And I don't know if it was fluoride that caused this crazy tethered people. Maybe it was. Maybe Alex Jones is onto something. Who knows?
She was doing it so the government could brainwash people.
Well, yeah, that is what they were trying to do. They were trying to. I guess they weren't trying to brainwash people. They were trying to make copies that they could brainwash, and it just didn't work out. So I guess in the end, the government was trying to brainwash people. So I guess that was right. Do you think that the government's actually trying to do that, Rich? Do you think they have tethered people underground?
They probably did.
I could see it.
I just want to say this doesn't have any effect on the movie, but when Lupita goes down the escalator, it's like the kid, I thought to myself she was going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, and a little bit of Alice in Wonderland
I
parallel.
like where your head's
Okay,
at.
Rich. Okay.
I thought I was funny doing that. But then I don't think
Okay, so moving on to the end of the movie, after the family kills the tethered family, the white family's tethered family, they go out and they slowly kill their tethered one by one, starting off the daughter. She gets ran over. That was a great scene when she climbs top of the car and then she stabs through. That was pretty that was one of the most tense scenes. Actually, a lot of the fight scenes were pretty tense. The dad, earlier when the dad was fighting his tether on the boat, another a good tense scene where the tethered is like drug underwater, but he falls off the boat too, so they're both in the water fighting. But wait, what, Rich?
I don't know the fight scenes.
Yeah, the fight scenes were all really well done. Like, they all felt like real and brutal and visceral and violent. Like, Peele did a good job of making the fight scenes feel like realistic, like something what people would actually do in this scenario. I think that's one of the things Peele really wants to do with his horror movies, is show characters not do stupid things and do things that, like, actual humans would do. Like, you never see his character do something like, wow, that was dumb, you really shouldn't have done that.
I will say the one thing that didn't really make sense is when they were talking about how many kills they had.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, you can continue.
You guys are talking about dropping movies and shit, so it was just...
Yeah. I guess one of the most unrealistic parts is how the family reacts to having just brutally murdered a couple people. Like, Lupita Nyong'o's character, I guess, is the tethered, so it makes sense for her to not really...
But when the daughter just goes ham...
Yeah, the daughter character, who is a human, like, brutally murders a couple of them with a golf club putter, and she really doesn't, like really react to it. Like, wow, I just murdered people. She's like, I just killed some fools.
Yeah, but the people were like, kind of...
Maybe that was intentional by Peele to show that they really weren't that different, the upper class and middle class, or not, the lower class and middle class.
That was the one thing that I thought was like...
But I would think, at least me personally, if I just killed a bunch of people, I'd be like, wow, that's rough, that's heavy, that's some heavy stuff, Doc. Especially how violently she did. She bashed this chick's brains in, like, brutal.
Yeah. I think that was
Maybe it was shock. Maybe they was, like, in shock, and they're like, well, how many kills you got, fool? I got 2.
Yeah. Maybe that's how they handle it, but I don't know. If I just kill somebody, I'm going to keep count.
So yeah, after they've killed all the main family have killed all their tethered except for the main Lupita Nyong'o's character. I believe her tethered version was named Red. So that's when we get the underground fight scene, the last dance, as Richie calls, or as Kevin called. I'm sure Richie would have called it too. Richie's a smart guy in his safari hat.
Bless you. Thank you.
But before we end the review off with the end of the movie, I think I want to bring up another theory that KB brought to me. This is a more outlandish one. I don't know if this is true. I haven't seen this one online at all. But he believes that the sun is also a tethered and was switched at some point because Lupita Nyong'o's character, after she kills her real self, who was, I guess, her real self who became the leader of the tethered. So after the original tethered version kills her real self, she talks to the sun, and only to the sun says, "We're safe now. They'll never get to us." So Kevin pointed out how she only said this to the sun, and she kind of seemed to have this like special relationship with just her son throughout the movie, and he was thinking this is because that he's actually a tethered as well. I guess some of the evidence to also support this is that the son's a little weird. He wears like a mask. Some of his quirks kind of make him seem like he could possibly be a tethered. I don't know if that's what Peele wanted us to get, or if Peele just wanted us to show that the son sees that his mom's a tethered, but he's willing to accept it and still love her like his mom. Well, I guess she is his mom, so.
Yeah, that's in that sense. I had read something so much that where I think it said that they had been to that house the previous summer, and then he almost burnt the house down with like his little match trick or something. I think is what they talked about. And I think one of the things I was reading is people think that the tether were switched, so the kid was switched during that like whole debacle.
Oh, so you think the switch happened, and that's why his face is burnt? Like, okay, so the tethered version of the boy, or who we think the tethered version is, wears a mask similar to how the normal kid version wears a mask, but his mask is to cover up burns all over his face. So I guess if when the kid accidentally burnt the house down, he actually burned himself and it somehow got switched. I guess that adds to Kevin's theory. Maybe Kevin's onto something here.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Face burn thing, like, and that would explain why, like, at the beginning, like, he's building the kid is building, like, you know, with the sand castles, like, you're supposed to build a sand castle. He's building a sand tunnel, which I thought was kind of funny.
He's being what was he building a sand what?
A tunnel.
Oh, a tunnel.
Yeah.
That's okay. Damn. Okay, Rich. I didn't notice that. Did you read that online, or did you actually notice that?
Well, I know. I mean, I heard that it said tunnel.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Dang, that's pretty crazy.
So Kevin's theory to come in.
Well, following the final battle is when we finally get the reveal that Lupita Nyong'o's character is switched. We're like, wow, the whole time she was the tethered version. And then we get the family escaping Santa Cruz in an ambulance, which I guess is also symbolic somehow because the son was using an ambulance in the beginning of the movie to like stop this door from shutting that would like automatically lock if it got shut. And then at the end, the family leaves in an ambulance. I have no idea what that's supposed to symbolize. Maybe any idea, Shiv?
Saving the family. Not saving. Just like a safety in general.
Yeah, leave in the comments.
A quick getaway.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess like Ex Machina is kind of. I don't know so much as Ex Machina.
Leave in the comments what you think the ambulance symbolized. I would love to hear your ideas. And then the movie ends with like a nice drone, or maybe it's either a helicopter or a drone shot of the all the tethered lining up for the Hands Across America, and we get to see that there are like literally thousands of these people. So the government basically made a tethered version of everybody, which I don't know. Okay, so this is weird. So the government abandoned the project, right? At some point.
Yeah.
But that means that tethered people were still getting made after the government abandoned it. So does that mean the government weren't actually the ones making them, or did the tethered learn how to make them? Because all these kids had tethered, but I'd assume that was post the government abandoning the project. So how did these tethered continue to get made? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if Peel...
Because they explain how Red, or like the real one, the real Lupita, was forced to marry Abraham. So they were forced to like have sex, and they produced versions of them. Maybe it was the tethered producing.
Okay, actually, yeah, that's a good explanation.
And then the tethered just did it.
That
so it wasn't, at that point, it wasn't the government.
That they make new tethered because they're mimicking the upper world people. That makes sense.
I think that would explain. I don't think the government shut down. You get the sense that it's been shut down.
So yeah, then the movie ends with us seeing that all these tethered people. There's still a lot of humans alive because we can see them operating helicopters. Like the news broadcast people are operating helicopters and showing the tethered forming this Hands Across America line. Yeah. And then the film ends, and we're left to wonder how this family's gonna deal with, I guess, Lupita kind of revealing that she was one of the tethered to her son, and how they're gonna continue to interact with themselves. I don't know. I think it's gonna show that they're going to continue to live their life normally. I think what Peel wanted is to...
Well, how? Like, I feel like a lot of the population is probably, like, dead at this point.
That's true. I don't think the army's going to have too much trouble killing a bunch of people with scissors, but... I don't know. Maybe... I don't think Peel's ever going to make a sequel,
but...
It's
only people in America, right, who have these...
It was just America.
That's true. That's true. It was just an American thing because the things talk in the beginning. The tunnels are under the continental U.S. Yeah. Oh, this is another symbolism I saw someone online point out, that the movie is called Us, but it could also be the U.S. because the whole movie symbolizes the economic the economic state of the United States.
Right. You blew Richie's mind.
Bye,
He had to take a
Richie.
walk after that one. Oh,
Bye.
he has to make sure that the door was open.
Dude, what if Richie just got like stabbed or
Dude,
something?
that'd be funny. If you no. I love Richie, but like if you
Oh, that's true.
You guys got like maybe an hour tops.
Before they get to us.
I kind of thought it was weird how like the tunnel, I guess, is like link was in some carnival just thing.
That's yeah. And it was like a really well constructed like staircase and like escalator in between both worlds. So it makes sense why the government specifically put the like what if like someone at the Santa Cruz boardwalk just decided to tear down this hall of mirrors? Would like they'd have exposed the whole underground world before like they got the chance to start the revolution?
I don't know. I think that's one of the weird things. But again, I think that's sad. A lot of subtext.
Very, very good idea, Robot Richie.
At first it's underwater, now it's Optimus Prime. So.
Well, we've been going for 50 minutes here. Does anyone have some final thoughts on the movie before we end this review?
It's probably not going to win the Oscar, but...
Oh, okay.
At least be not.
I don't know what he said.
He said it's probably not going to win an Oscar.
Really? You don't think no
nominations?
nominations?
I think it should be nominated.
I think it'll get nominated.
I don't think it'll be...
For screenplay?
You think Peel will get back-to-back screenplay awards?
I think it'll be either best directing or best...
I could see a best editing. There's some good editing in this movie.
You don't think Lupita will get nominated?
I think she should.
I think she should too.
I think it's hard. She's because she played two roles that were.
That's true.
Yeah. Most movies can't say.
Two roles that were different, yet the same.
Wow.
That's how you gotta end everything.
Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let us know if you want to see more reviews. See you guys in the next one.
Wow, you just ended Richie?
Oh.
For my life, can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you could say that shit. All she want is payback for the way I always play that shit.